and just ply your trade. Super good, super good. Tyler, he's a young guy, just kind of learning a lot of different instruments, and his bass is not his primary one, but here he is just stepping right up. Just did a super good job for us today. Just appreciate that big time. And where's my daughter-in-love? Okay, she's coming. Charlie's going to go get her. So she's sitting on the front row here tonight or today, and then of course last Thursday night, and she just is not real assertive, aggressive when it comes to doing something publicly. But that girl, did you hear? Oh my gosh, it made me cry. So just thank you, Lord, for just the territory we secure in the context or environment of love and affirmation. Honestly, there's just a lot of things I like about Ascended Life, but one of the things is that we're able to create an atmosphere where that is present. Affirmation, permission granted. Everybody's going to be affirmed in some way or another. And so I do appreciate that about how the Lord has given that to us. Okay, so what I'd like to do is have a few testimonies, and then I want to do two things after that. But Mike, would you like to go first on this? And then Linda, would you like to go with your painting? Okay, so come on up if you'd like. And I don't know that it's necessary. You come on up, but since you're up here, just go ahead.
All right. Thursday night, and this is our first time coming to this conference, so with a bunch of hesitation, but I saw very clearly, no, I don't mean a hesitation coming to the conference. I meant hesitation sharing the first night of the conference. Let me go sit down for a minute and come back.
I did have my reservations.
But I saw very clearly from the Lord, I felt that for this conference, I saw a table set up. And on the table, I felt like the Lord said that each one of us had gifts that and treasures that God had placed in our hearts. And I saw gold, and I saw diamonds, and I saw rubies, and I saw all kinds of precious jewels. And I felt the Lord say, put your treasures on that table. And it's kind of like if you go to a conference, they take all the name tags sometimes, and you go in and there's a table set up with all the name tags on it. And I kind of felt like everybody was supposed to put on that table during the 3 days of the conference their treasure that God had placed in their hearts. And I think that's part of his revelation in terms of what he's unveiling to us at these days. And I felt like that we were supposed to put ours on the table, but then I felt like the Lord encouraged us to go to the table and pick up from others some precious things that we could take back with us as well. So I felt like that tonight, that we're to do that. We're to go to that table. We're to pick up the things. And I think that's what's been going on, that during lunches and talking and getting to know new people, we've been able to share things and find out that, hey, my testimony and Steve's testimony are almost identical in terms of when we gave our lives to the Lord. I didn't know that before, but there's treasures there that I can take and put within me and affirm that, and then all of what we just went through in terms of knowing that, hey, we're on the right path, and so we can take that treasure. So, but the caveat to this whole thing is that we need to do more of that in terms of taking from others what God has placed within them. And I felt like that the Lord gave me a word that says, not unlike when there were only 5 small loaves or whatever, it was 5 loaves and 2 small fish, and is this going to be enough to feed everybody? And the disciples said, well, I don't know, but this is what we got. So Jesus said, okay, that's plenty. And so he took it and he broke it and he fed it to people with it. And I felt like that's kind of what's going on here, that Jesus is feeding us with those treasures that he's taken from us. But the thing is that when it was all said and done, there was 7 basketfuls left over. And I felt like the Lord saying that's that synergistic effort of when we come together and we give the little bit that we have. I only got a couple little fish, but I'm going to share this little bit. But God's going to multiply that, and that there's going to be basketfuls left over enough to do what was talked about in terms of leaving and embedding in this building for those going forward, and leaving the new groups that are going to come out of this, and that apostolic, thing that we just saw a few minutes ago. Actually, it only started with 12, and then all of a sudden they had 5,000. But that's the kind of thing that's going to happen, and there's going to be these basketfuls left over. So I just want to encourage everybody to put what you have on the table.
So, Mike, you mentioned to me a while ago, can we have the names and addresses, email addresses of everybody here? Because he says, I'd like to reconnect with people. I said, well, I'm not sure how ethical that is unless we talk to you. So, Mike, do you want to ask permission?
Yeah, I asked Mark, could we get, I'd like to see everybody, they have all the email addresses of everybody attended, but I'd like to see that distributed to everybody that was here. So what Mark said, well, I don't know if everybody wants that. So I said, well, let's ask. Is there anybody who would like their name taken off of that list?
And you don't have to raise your hand, but would you tell me? You can tell me privately, but please tell me, because if you don't tell me, first of all, we better ask, do they want it?
Oh, okay. Does anybody want that list of the other attendees? Looks like it's pretty much
okay, we'll say that's pretty unanimous. Now, here's the deal. You don't have to raise your hand this question. Tell me privately, though, if you don't want your name on that list, okay? Okay, it says if you don't tell me privately, then your name will be on that list. Okay. Good.
All right. Thank you.
Good, Mike. Good. Okay, we're going to do that. Linda, something happened to you when we were down in Nashville last July. We did a 3-day a conference like this, and we did an angel activation where we met our angel. Something happened. What happened?
Well, thank you, Mark, because you have started a lot of things you probably don't know, but when he was in Nashville in July, he did this activation where he said he wanted us to meet an angel, our new angels, or an angel. So he said, hold out your left hand, isn't it great? And see what gets put in your hand. And so I looked, and there was liquid copper and a white feather sitting on the top of it. So in my right hand, I asked the Lord, what was it, or the name of the angel? Well, it was liquid copper, and so I thought, this is kind of cheesy, but the angel is copper. So that's all I got. So then I went home, and I thought, I'm going to research everything about copper. So I looked at the elemental tables. It's 29, and I had all this revelation about 2 and 9 and 29. And then copper is a conductor of heat, a really good conductor of heat. Well, the Lord has told me for years that he's going to use me to speak healing over people. And I thought, Lord, this is just such encouragement for me to continue to do that. And so another thing that I got at the same time was this white, bright orb at the same time that the angel copper was holding. So anyway, you get all these things, you don't know what they stand for, and so I wrote everything down. Well, about a month later, an artist in our church took several people who paid a little fee out on the boat into the middle of an island in Nashville. And she brought all the painting supplies, and she said, I want you to be inspired by the setting and paint whatever you want. And I just kept thinking, I want to see my angel again. I want to see copper. I want to see what that looks like. Well, I've never painted anything before. So I just started painting, and this was my angel. And copper, obviously, is holding this orb. And I wrote on here, balls of light for healing. And I realized the Lord told me every opportunity from now on that you have to pray healing over someone, you're going to get an angel copper to accompany you and give you an orb for that particular healing. That sounds so profound. But that's what it ends up being. Ever since then, every time somebody's around me that talks about needing healing or they're hurting or whatever, even the guy who was doing my nails, he talked about his neck hurting real bad, and the Lord said, well, ask him if it's okay if you pray for him. And he let me. And so that's just another, I love to pray for people for healing, but the Lord said, now you have an assistant, Angel Copper, to help you with that. So anyway, thank you, Mark. That happened in July, but
I can't believe that's her first painting. Isn't that pretty amazing? Maybe there's hope for all of us, you know what I'm saying?
so thank you.
Yeah, that's amazing. The Lord's good. He's big into opening doors. He likes to open doors. Yeah, super good. Hey, Mark, how about you? Would you like to share? That is great. And by the way, Linda, hold up your arm. No, the other arm. So look at this. She's got a copper bracelet on. So she's trying to stick real close to her angel. And by the way, speaking of that, we were talking to the table about this a couple days ago at our first day, I think. Anyway, having the big three, the Trinity with us, that's pretty big. That's a big deal. That's really good. But God, in His wonderful fatherly wisdom and design, has said, you know what? I'd like my larger family to also accompany you. And just to know that the hosts of heaven are with me and escorting me and empowering me, that just is dynamically powerful. That just makes us begin to become fearless. So anyway, good job. Mark, my new friend, long lost friend from 2 days ago. Good, Mark.
Well, it's our first time, and we've really had a great time and love to get back next year. And thank you, Jerry, for inviting us. We live in Arizona. Thursday night, Mark, you told us to look this way in the spirit for this people group that had come, and Jerry had a word. I can't remember the name of the people group. No. Khalees? Verlez people group. And so you asked us to turn, Mark, so I turned, and in the spirit I saw several boats coming in, rivers coming into this room, and quite a few people getting out. And then the boats disappeared, and there's a lot of people back here, and the whole room was full of water. We were all sitting in like maybe a foot of water, and they were standing in a foot of water. So the river of life had taken over the whole room. And I think you asked us, Mark, to welcome them, and I think we were singing. And it just kind of came to me, I want to do more than welcome them. I want to tell them we need them. I wanted to tell them that they're wanted here. So I started singing that to them, that we need you, we want you, and your gifts make us stronger. Your faith makes us stronger. We're better with you. So that's what I started singing. And then one guy came down the middle. I was sitting over here, and one of the people came and sat down beside me, and he reached out and grabbed a hold of my hand and held my hand for a while. A little louder. Okay. And that was really cool. So we were holding hands. He came down and sat in the chair beside me and reached out to hold my hand from the people group. Looked like he was about 40 years old. So that we continued, and he just kept sitting there. And then we came up and did you put down your thing. And I went back, and he was still sitting there. And then he left. And then later he came back and put his hand on my shoulder. So I think we didn't communicate any words, but I think he told me he really appreciated the welcome and that the group gave them. Yeah.
Wow. I tell you, again, Ephesians 1:10, that in the dispensation of the fullness of times, God's going to bring together all things which are in heaven and which are in earth, merging them together. It's wonderful when we begin to have the cognizant awareness, the manifestation. In this case, it's the spiritual sensing, but I don't know, Mark, here, let's just unpack it a little bit. How did you sense? How did you feel? Was it a tangible pressure on your shoulder, or did you spiritually sense it?
I felt something.
Yeah.
I turned back and he was standing behind me.
Yeah. And then he took your hand, is that right, at one point? Again, did you feel pressure on your physical hand, or was it a spiritual sensing? Yeah, got it. Yeah. So very good. But so that's where we're at, and I believe it's just a wonderful journey of moving into our awareness and ability to live in the heavenlies. And so we start with that level, and as the Lord establishes and affirms that, in other words, give credit or validation to those kinds of experiences, we become more and more bold, more and more affirmed in our direction. So very good, Mark. Holly, would you mind coming up? And then, let's see, Kendra, I think after Holly. And have I talked to anybody else, or did you talk to me about something you want to share? Okay.
Hi, y'all. I'm a Southern girl transplanted here in the Midwest, but I'm so happy we're here because we met Deb and Mark. Glory to God. So last night, when we were having the angelic invitation and just all that activation, I don't know anybody. I don't watch wrestling, but my husband does. He doesn't really watch it hardly anymore. But you know how they say, "Let's get ready to rumble." You know that, right? Okay. Well, the Lord told me last night, Rev is in the house. And I met Rev 17 years ago, and I got the most profound download that literally saved Rachel's life about, I'm an RN, and it was a download of how to heal my daughter after she had been on antibiotics for 6 months and nothing was working and she was getting injections. So that's the first time I met him. And it was in a dream. And then I had a download and a word from the Lord audible the next day. So I thought, okay, he's in the house. So I'm looking for him because I know what he looks like. He's blue and powerful blue sword. And it was like amazing. So I never saw him, but I could feel like the energy in the house and I could just feel the activation. And I even saw what I thought were some feathers and I was like, yes, this is going to be great. And then, you know, it was just a profound day, period. So I just went home and I was exhausted because we were making some chicken salad. Glad that worked out today. Anyway, did it turn out okay? Good. All right. I can cook. That's there we go. From the South, you know that. So anyway, I wake up this morning and I slept 8 hours like a rock, didn't move, woke up and I'm like, man, I didn't have a dream. I was like so bummed because I was just sure I was going to have a dream and I was going to see Rev again. 17 years is a long time, you know? So anyway, I'm getting ready and taking a bath and often the Lord will talk to me then. And I just felt the Lord say, get ready. And I was like, okay. So I had my phone handy and then later I got my notebook out, but I got download after download after download about books. The Lord's been telling me for years that I'm going to write books. And then 3 years ago, he said books. And then a year ago, he said book, like nothing else. That's your lens. That's what you're going to do. You're releasing this. And so that's what I got today. I got 3 more titles and I got the outlines for all 3 books. I mean, like literally, I was like pregnant with, like it was like that. And it's all about healing. That's always been the Lord told me about 2 years ago, he said, your primary calling is get the bride of Christ off grid medically. And I was like, well, Lord, I'm not off grid medically. Could you do that first for me? And he has. So, I mean, like I'm standing here. I have lived in chronic pain for 23 years and I am pain-free. I've been pain-free now for 6 weeks. It's been the longest healing journey. The Lord gave me a crazy name for a YouTube channel called Midwest Meanderings. I had to practice that for 3 weeks until I could say it. So it's all there, but he wants it in books. Like he wants the journey there. He wants it where I can go, you know, and the book is available free. I will sell it. But in the book, I say if anybody needs it, you just, you know, message me and you will get it for free. So anyway, that was Rev.
That was Rev. No, Rev was blue, is that right? Yeah, from here down. And from here up, white. Anybody guess what blue stands for symbolically? Sounds like you got a little revelation today, you know? Download of book titles and book content. Ooh. Anybody want Rev to come visit? Rev? Oh, I didn't catch that. I was thinking Reverend. Oh, see. It takes the whole body. Oh.
I didn't know his name until we're in the dangerous group led by Mark and Deb. I didn't know Rev's name until just a few months ago. And you were doing an angel activation and we were just doing the hand thing. And then somewhere along the line, I'm like, Lord, I don't know the name of that blue angel that changed our lives. And it was a natural antibiotic. He told me how to take a supplement and turn it into something more powerful than anything the medical industry can do. So we've been antibiotic free for 17 years. So it was a really big revelation. But anyway, I was like, Lord, I don't even know his name. So I had the activation. It wasn't about Rev. And the Lord said, his name is Rev, and he's been with you all these years. I'm like, but it was so tender. Like, it was like a best friend that I had never, like, didn't know he was there, like, constantly, but he has been.
Super good. So does ascended life have any relevancy to normal everyday life? Well, hello. So Revelation, that gives her an antibiotic replacement, gives her 3 books, and so very good. A good friend of ours, by the way, Reggie, if you're put some thoughts together about what's happened in the last 2 months since you came to our house and met with Hans and Earl, I think you kind of have been apprised of this possibility. Has somebody said anything? Okay, good deal. So you just be thinking, get your thoughts together. A good friend of ours who's on some of our Friday Zooms, a good longtime friend of Steve's, he's been just a super great inspiration to all of us. And he says, I never see angels. All I see is saints. And the interesting thing is, it's like, that's a problem, that's a real problem. You guys see angels. Anyway, and so listen to this. So he is a kind of a mentor, sort of leader over a bunch of Baptist pastors. But the Lord has given him unusual favor to speak into their lives and take them places that they wouldn't go by their normal religious theological persuasion, but because of him, and how we carry ourselves, they're going right down a road really good. Well, anyway, about probably 5 weeks ago now, he saw his first angel. Joybell, I think was that angel's name, Joybell. And like you, Holly, when he finally saw the angel, all of a sudden his eyes were open for all of his life. Joybell has been with him, and he could see her MO through the whole way, him or her, whatever it was. See the MO of this angel, and all of a sudden his heart was deeply endeared toward this angel because all of a sudden now he was made aware of it. So just thank the Lord for how he strengthens us. Yeah. Reggie, come on up. So Reggie, something about that? Okay, come on, Reggie. So Reggie came to our house about 2 months ago, and so Reggie, I know you're a preacher. So can we bail our hay a little bit today? I've never heard you talk, so I'm just being preemptive here on possibilities. So can we? What happened in the last 2 months? We don't need to know probably the past so much, but what happened in the last 2 months? The question, the idea is ascended life impacting? Does it really change life? Is it relevant? Is it something that will dynamically change our lives?
I'm a very simple man. There was one time this preacher came by and prophesied, your message will never be deep. It'll be simply Jesus Christ and Him crucified. So I won't put any terms to it. Last 2 months, I've been wandering in the wilderness for the last 20 years. Very painful, very painful. Hans and Jerica called me, but before that, this particular season, God was starting to deal with me. Used to be a time where I didn't really care about anything else other than sitting in my daddy's lap, tugging at his beard, just being there. And then something happened and pushed me into ministry. It lasted 6 years. The last 2 years were like, I was just a signpost, not going anywhere. Pointing people, signs, wonders, miracles. I mean, you talk about God moving, amazing. I was just a signpost. I stopped hearing God. Somewhere along, I have theory. God spoke to me a couple of days ago, what was happening, because I said, oh man, I'm a failure. I just messed things up. God, you don't talk to me anymore. I'm angry at you, blah, blah, blah. Anyhow, it's a long story. So let's talk about... Short story. What has been happening is God is speaking to me again in a pretty intense way. Good. Waking me up in the middle of the night. Mm-hmm. During the day, I work, but the divine encounters. So, and hear all this talk about angels and all that. I mean, 20 years ago, I had about 4 angels around me because God sent me to some dark places in Africa and pretty dark places. Then I stopped seeing them. 2 days ago, I was at my computer. I felt an angel come on the left side. Don't know what all it means. I don't, like I said, I'm a simple man. I don't care. But everything that is said here is the word. There is nothing out of place or extra biblical. This is what we are called to do. I mean, I've sat under latter rain movement, the teachings. I've seen some good things, bad things. All movements have them. People go to excess, but this should be reality. When we walk, we want to walk with angels. We want to have the cloud of witnesses. We want to have all of heaven helping us. So I believe.
How has it impacted, I think your business has seen a dramatic change or turn in the last couple of months?
This is crazy. I mean, 20 years pretty much in the wilderness. Not even my best friends who were ministers, God did not allow them to call me. And then Hans called me. And, since then, I mean, Christians, supernatural, walking with supernatural power, are jumping on me or sharing with Earl, like starving fleas on a hound dog. That's what's happening. I mean, there are people calling me up, and they're like prophesying. That's like South, right? So it's like it's night and day. It's night and day. I wake up 6 a.m. I'm spending time with God, and it's not just prayer or anything like that. It's like an interaction, transformation. So thank you for, I mean, I don't know what all has been catalyst in this. It doesn't matter to me. As I said, I claim being dumb and being simple. And one thing that literally, I carry this with me, not today, but wherever I travel. Earl came and gave me a prophecy. Hey, you've been throwing your net on this side of the boat. Why don't you try the other side? I mean, that thing literally changed the way my business operates. And also spiritually as well. And then he said, hey, I'd like to talk to you. So we drove and met him halfway. So I don't remember where we met. McDonald's, very spiritual place. Then he gave me this silver dollar. And he said, this is the deposit of your redemption and what God's going to do in your life. So, and I keep it. And then 2 days later, Patrick Rettig, guy said, well, he's a consultant that I hired. I mean, I didn't know even he was Christian. I just hired him after some research. So he said, we can do this 2 ways. Think about a coin. And I said, somebody just gave me a coin. I mean, you cannot make this up, guys. You cannot make this up. So I'm listening. He said, one side of the coin is God or faith, and the other side is a secular way. I mean, this is a business consultant. We can either do it God's way through faith, or we can do it through the other way. And I said, let's not even look at the secular way. But anyhow, I stand here today, but for the mercy of God. The just mercy. I mean, the stuff, it doesn't matter. I wear his righteousness. I hold my head up. The enemy wants to bring shame, but I hold my head up because it's not my righteousness. So, is that good?
That's good. Very good, Reggie. The verse came to mind, it's melting my heart.
Actually, I did say that I won't come and speak. Earl asked me, I said, I don't think my time, this is my time. Did I not say that? And then you call me out.
A man's reputation precedes him. And sometimes the Lord is the one who brings that, your reputation and your glory, if I can say it that way, because Jesus said, the Father, glory you gave me, I give to them. So the Father and the Holy Spirit is the one who manifests your glory before you get there. He says, okay, it's time to go. But a verse came to mind while you were speaking, Reggie. A verse came to mind while you were speaking out of Song of Solomon. It says, and who is this coming up out of the wilderness, leaning on her beloved? Ooh. Oh, that's powerful. That just, oh my gosh. That's on his screensaver of his phone. Oh, that messes my heart up. Oh, not just that coincidence, but just the power of when we come out of difficult times, the Lord has worked something so precious in us. We don't want to do anything but just lean on our beloved. And that's what's being worked in you so well. It comes across very well, Reggie. Good job. Thank you. Debbie, would you grab the blue folders and trifolds? Just bring one or two of those in. Just Craig, did you have something? And then we'll go Kendra. Yeah. And then we'll do Kendra, and then I think.
It was kind of following when we were talking about angels before, but when the angels came in with the trays and the drink, I saw him. He came, had stood, and right after that, you said, "There's one in front of everybody." I'm like, "No, he's at my right. He wasn't in front of me." So just having fun. So I took it, and then I just wanted to, and the angel was like very, very stoic, and I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" And then I just felt like I needed to bless him, bless an angel. So I was blessing him, and then I was like, "Hey, do you want some?" He's like, "Oh no, it's for you." But the whole thing that came out of it was just to remind us, like, they're kind of like us. So they're serving us and ministering to us. I was like, it's a father's heart. We can feel free to bless him. And so I just see him bless them, and just go with what the Lord wants you to bless them with, and they come and serve us, and we want to bless them back. That was it.
Super good. The Lord is just helping us be integrated, interrelated with our greater heavenly family. They're not the same species. Don't misconstrue anything about that. They're not the redeemed, but they are part of the greater family of heaven. Couple things. We do have these trifolds back there. This is, if you want to give it to somebody, it's basically an introductory to Ascended Life with contact information on the back. They're just QR code. These are left over from last year, so it's a set of maybe 15 different documents and articles that help with things, various topics related to Ascended Life. So those will be up here. And by the way, there are also extra documents that I had left over from handouts somewhere along the line. So feel free to come up and get any one of those. Yes, all this is on my website. Some of it you'll have to go looking for because it's not all like nicely laid out. Well, this is the freshest stuff, you know what I'm saying. So Kendra, would you like to come up? And then where's Gail? Gail? And then I think we'll switch gears. We got two here pretty quick.
Okay, so, I just want to thank you, Rod. Where'd he go? Oh, thank you, Rod. Wow, you know how he had us keep just turning in when he was giving his presentation on the New Jerusalem and the new city? Well, I think it was about the second time that he said, let's just close our eyes and we're there kind of deals. So I was doing that, and I was in a very familiar place. I'd been there before, but something was happening, and I saw these bowls being put before me. They were golden bowls, and there were 8 of them. And I have not unpacked all this, but what I really feel like what the Lord is wanting, the reason I'm sharing this is to give validity to how he speaks, and he does in each one of us. So as I unpack this, it's okay if you don't understand. I don't understand everything either, but I know that he will. So anyways, 8 bowls, and they were full of different spices, and a little angel came, and she started taking these spices, and she put them into a little satchel, and then she took this satchel, and she handed me this goblet full of warm water, and then she put the satchel in the warm water, and basically it started to become a tea, but it was an herbal tea, and it was very golden, yellowy orange, like turmeric, if you've ever seen that before. And she asked me to drink it, and so when I drank it, I was gone. He kept preaching, he kept teaching. I was hearing it. I was sitting back there. I was hearing the whole thing, but I was out of my body at that point. And then I started, as he was speaking about Jerusalem, I was there. I was in the market street, and I was just seeing the building, the structures of the building, and this little kid was playing with a ball, a little red ball, and he went down this corridor, and he goes like this towards me. And so I followed him, and I followed him down, and when I got to this corridor, I could see at the end of the corridor was the Ark of the Covenant, in all of its glory, and I was sitting back there, and it was glowing, and the olive branch was on the top, and I was like, whoa, that's amazing. And I'm having this revelation, and I can hear Rod still speaking, and he's talked about the New Jerusalem versus the old. And what I saw was the new come. And it came down as a book, a golden book, and I could see all these names in it, and I knew it was the book of life. And Jesus was manifesting himself to me as a book, the book of life. And oh my God. So this book of life, the book of life, fell backwards. Just like, like you would see a city of ruins just crumble, but he fell back, and there was like this smoke that came up around, and all of a sudden there was a pathway, and he became the way. He became the truth, and he became the life. And at that moment, he was speaking about eternal life and life, the immortality. And I knew there was an invitation for me to walk that way. So I started to walk that way. And as I'm walking that way, I can hear Rod speaking about the gates. And all I could do was see the post, the very bottom part of the post. And I could see that they were made out of pearl. They almost looked marbly, but anyways, it's hard to describe. But he was talking about the tribes, and I could see there was something etched on the base of these the post of the gates, and I couldn't read it. I couldn't make out what it said, but I could feel it. It was raised, and all I knew was that it was the tribes. They were inscribed on the posts, and it was in a language that I didn't understand, but I knew. But there was a communication I knew. So he was talking about angels. I believe he was talking about angels, and I mean, on my left-hand side was the angel. And I knew his name was Dan. He actually had it written across his chest, so it made it really easy. And Dan. I'm like, so we had Dan to the left, and there was an angel by the post on the right, and his name was Ephraim. And I'm just like, whoa! And at the sight of these angels, at the sight of just the post, I crumble, I fall. I haven't even entered the city. I'm at the gate, and I fall. I'm like, ah. And this angel, the one that had put the leaves, or the spices, the spices in there, comes over, and she looks at me and says, Well, it's her first time here. Because I couldn't even get past the gate. So what I wanted to share about this particular is, yes, that's an amazing revelation. But what made it so real to me and makes me know that this really happened and I'm not making it up kind of deals, because that's what the Lord does this to me in all different ways. A lot of times he'll speak to me in Numbers or in Hebrew, and I didn't even know that, and he'll confirm it. So what the Lord did in confirmation to me was, I knew there was something about Dan and Ephraim. And so I just was like on a search. And I wasn't really getting where I wanted to get. It wasn't clicking, because Dan is a tribe and Ephraim, well, he got dissolved into Joseph. So I'm like, that doesn't really make sense. And it wasn't until I had this epiphany as I was researching that they actually were territories. That Dan actually had a territory and Ephraim had a territory. And so I just Googled, is Jerusalem between Dan and Ephraim? Because remember, I'm going in the middle. I've got them one onto the left and one onto the right. And Google says, yes. Jerusalem is in between Dan, the land of Dan and Ephraim. So we're talking in the natural, and then he's talking about in the spiritual. And the Lord's confirming to me in the natural that the land of Dan is actually to the west, and the land of Ephraim is to the north, and they intersect, and that is where Jerusalem is, or what we know as the Judah. And I'm telling you, that is the kind of thing that propels me and continues to encourage me when these things start unfolding, is when he gives these little details and then they just boom. So I just want to encourage you in that.
I'll just leave it at that. Saw the Holy of Holies and the tabernacle, and I saw the ark, but it's just your first time here. Interesting. And, I think that's true for all of us. I doubt if any of us have really been in, We just kind of got a concept. We got a concept. Oh. Think of John. Yeah, come on up, Gail. John the beloved, the disciple whom Jesus loved. He knew Jesus better than anybody. Now we go up just a few years to the first chapter of Revelation. John, remember, very familiar with Jesus, and Jesus shows up, and John falls as a dead man. It's like, wait a minute, this is the guy I love and who loves me. What is the deal? So there's a whole other dimension. Come on, another dimension of how when God reveals himself to us, it might be a little overwhelming. What do you got, Gail? I haven't heard this story.
No. When we were in worship this...
First of all, I want to say that Gail's going to just go into the experience and not just tell the story, but she's going to go right into where she was at.
In worship this morning, we were singing the song Abba that you talked about. When we got to "You're closer than the skin on my bones, you're closer than the song on my tongue," I was sitting in the chair, and then I was somewhere. I was on a lake. Now I know that know me know I'm on the lake a lot, but this is a different lake. This was a lake that was crystal clear, and Father said, "Let's go floating." I know some of the songs after that was flying, but this was floating, and I floated all through worship. And he I guess it was upping the trust level, but he would. Have you ever taught your children how to swim or float? He put his hand under my neck. He had me lay in the water, put his hand under my neck, his other hand under my back. He said, "Just let this limb go limp. Let this leg go limp. Let this arm go limp. Let this let this neck go limp. Let your back go limp. So I was in complete trust level, just higher than I'd ever been before, on this lake that was crystal clear, not muddy like the one we've got. But I realized that this was a trust level higher that I needed to go to, but maybe somebody else needs to go to too, and maybe in the upcoming days just limp, just go limp. And then after that, the couple of songs was about flying, and Naomi spoke about giving yourself, and the lady that was sitting there from this church talked about surrender. So that was just, and I was sitting, and I felt heat from light, life, and love. I was just enveloped, and I was hot all over. I know from the past, many years ago, that's Holy Spirit. I was just hot all over, and just crying and crying and crying. So I was here, and then I was there.
Very good.
Oh, I know.
Great job, Gail. Great job. The Lord is establishing us, each of us individually, and then when we pool our stories like this, it's like, oh my goodness, this is a bona fide OMG. This is a legitimate, non-defaming the name of the Lord, OMG. Oh my God. Yeah. Makes us stand in wonder. Hey, those that are scholars of wonder will become practitioners of wonder. Oh, that's touching me. Oof. Yeah.